Last night's game was rough for many, many parties, but especially for the Cincinnati Bengals because about, I would say, 3 hours before the show started, there was some breaking news. Joe Burrow suffered a torn ligament in his hand, and this was head coach Zac Taylor today announcing Joe Burrow's injury.
The biggest news will be with Joe Burrow. You know, he had an acute injury yesterday, likely on the play before his last one, where he tore a ligament in his wrist that will likely require surgery and require him to be out for the rest of the season. You know, just talking to guys on the team, excited to rally around Jake, and we got a lot of great players on this team, and so excited to see this team really band together for these last 7 weeks and find a way, you know, and so we're excited for that opportunity, but obviously disappointed for Joe.
Not only was Joe Burrow hurt, T. Higgins was already out. He's already been dealing with an injury. The Ravens lost Mark Andrews in this game. He's out for probably, I don't know if they officially called it he's out for the year, but it's looking like he's more than likely out for the season. OBJ was banged up in this game. Lamar Jackson was banged up in this game. Britt, the defensive back for the Bengals, he was banged up for this game as well. There was a lot of injuries on this Thursday night game, and we were expecting this shootout between Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow, and we didn't get that. Now Jake Browning will take over at quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. It seems like Zac Taylor's ready for him to be the quarterback. They haven't shopped around, looked for free agent quarterbacks.
There isn't much out there.
Correct, there isn't much out there. I mean, Joe Flacco's getting calls, but I want to know, do the Bengals have any shot, 0 to 100% shot, at making the playoffs with Jake Browning or maybe even a free agent quarterback as their starting quarterback?
Well, they have a lot of pieces. I mean, they have really good wide receivers, right? They have a very good defense. They have decent running backs. Joe Mixon, very good running back. So they have a lot of tools. But looking at Browning in that game, he came in last night, man. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't move the ball. They only got one touchdown, and it was after it was over, basically. So I think it's very questionable whether the Bengals can get into the playoffs now. I think if they had won more games earlier in the season, then maybe. But their record is 5-6 now, isn't it?
5-5.
By 5-5, and they're last place in their division. They get a lot of competition in the division. They still got some division games to play. I think it's probably not likely that they make the playoffs now. That would be my view.
Do you think a new quarterback could change that around?
I don't know. Who is it going to be? There isn't anybody out there, right? Who are they going to get?
You try to steal Joe Flacco away from the Browns. You got Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. His arm is shot.
You got Nick Foles out there.
Nick Foles. I don't know. Maybe he's probably better than Browning. I mean, I never heard of Browning. Where's he from? Does he have any experience in the NFL? I don't think so.
No.
He looked a little nervous out there, for sure. He looked like a deer in the headlights when he was playing, and he wasn't able to do much of anything. So I'm surprised the Bengals, with the team they have, wouldn't have had a better backup quarterback than him, you know?
I mean, if you have Joe Burrow, you don't expect to ever bring him out
Look
there.
at the way players are getting hurt these days. We've got Aaron Rodgers out with his Achilles injury. You got Deshaun Watson's gone now for the year. We're going to talk about that. Lamar got banged up last night. Not so bad that he couldn't play, but and now Joe Burrow out for the season. So you got injuries are part of the NFL, right? Daniel Jones is out, right? You've got it listed here. Kirk Cousins is gone for the year. Anthony Richardson gone for the year. 6 quarterbacks. Yeah, gone.
Yeah. And then some of these quarterbacks are having some of their best seasons. I mean, Anthony Richardson looked like a promising, budding star in the NFL. Deshaun Watson, think about it. We're going to talk about it in a couple minutes, but he went 14 of 14 with his shoulder basically almost ripped from the bone there.
It's 20% of the league's quarterbacks out for the season.
Kirk Cousins is having a career. He was having a phenomenal year. They couldn't get
these guys are starters.
He was playing phenomenally.
Gone.
Yeah. So I think
you got to have a decent backup quarterback. I think it's important these days.
I mean, if you have a franchise guy, you don't expect. You don't expect him to get hurt, so you're not going to pay $4 million, $5 million, or $6 million, however much, for a backup quarterback. It's just wasted cap space at that point.
No, how do you think the Bengals are feeling about that today?
Well, that.
Or how about the Browns? Right, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I think that I think it's very hard for the Bengals now. I think it'll be very hard for them to make the playoffs. I don't think personally, I don't think they're going to make it. I think that they won't get there. I mean, they don't have an easy schedule the rest of the way, right?
No.
It's going to be tough for them.
They're going up
even
against
the division is very good. That
correct.
division, all the teams could make the playoffs.
Right now, 3 out of the 4 of them are in the playoffs.
Three out
and
of
I think,
4.
2 games ago, all 4 of them were in the playoffs. So that's something. So far, the Bengals' upcoming schedule is the Steelers, Jaguars, Colts, Vikings, Steelers again, then Chiefs and Browns. There's one maybe win there if you had Joe Burrow. One definite win if you had Joe Burrow, and that'd be against the Colts. The Steelers have a great defense. Jacksonville is Trevor Lawrence, and they just got embarrassed by the 49ers. They should have a bounce-back game. Steelers defense again. The Vikings, Josh Dobbs, the Pastronaut, is having a phenomenal season so far. Yeah, and then you got the Chiefs, where not enough said, and then the Browns, great defense. So... yeah, and besides, Joe Burrow, anyway, he does very, very poorly against the Browns. So that may not even have been a win if you even had Joe Burrow. So regardless of who's out there. But I want to show the injury now. This was Joe Burrow's injury. So he throws a pass. I think that's Jadeveon Clowney. He tackles him, and that right hand falls on Joe Burrow's throwing hand. And actually, on the very next play, he throws a touchdown to Joe Mixon. And then right after that, right after the throw, you could see him wincing in pain, grabbing that hand. And then he walks off, and he's flexing it to see what the problem is. But
he said he felt it pop.
Yeah, so that was the injury. It didn't seem pretty bad. You if you're able to read lips, he was talking to I think Patrick Queen, and he thought he was all right. Then you get the scan in, you diagnose it, and it's a torn ligament, which requires season-ending surgery, which is quite unfortunate. But I mean, you say Jake Browning didn't move the ball. He went 8 of 14 for 68 yards and a touchdown. That ain't that bad. He had a 93 pass rating. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way. They could actually run the ball pretty effectively. 5.9 yards a carry, which actually is very, very good for them because their average this season is 3.9. So they're able to run the ball against a great defense.
Those stats are okay. How come they lost 34-20?
Because when you lose your star quarterback, who is, I believe, he's making the second most money per year right now. Think about it. Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow, they're making some of the most money in the NFL. But when it comes to Joe Burrow, when you have a superstar quarterback who right now is leading your team from a very, very poor first 3 or 4 games, you go up against the 49ers and you smoke them. You have an unfortunate loss against the Texans where Tyler Boyd has a drop pass, and you lose your quarterback in this game to a weird injury like that. It's soul-crushing. You can look at that defense. That defense looked lost after that point. And by the way, as soon as Joe Burrow threw that ball, they were up. They were beating the Ravens before Joe Burrow got hurt. And even after Joe Burrow got hurt, that throw put them up, I believe, 10-7. So when you look at it, the Bengals were actually in a position to win the game, or at least they were leading at that point. Joe Burrow could have won this game. I got nervous when they threw that touchdown pass because we both picked the Ravens to win. So I was a little bit worried that, oh my God, is Joe Burrow back after that horrible, unfortunate, I won't say horrible, but unfortunate loss against the Texans? And lo and behold, he gets hurt. Jake Browning will probably be the quarterback moving forward. But I'll also say this. I want to put some context around it. The Bengals this year have been horrible. They have the 30th ranked defense, the 24th ranked total offense. They had the 31st rushing game in the NFL. So even if Joe Burrow was still healthy, but you're going up against a schedule like that, I'm not even sure, regardless of the quarterback, if they would make it. They had a very, very bad loss against the Texans. You beat the Bills, I would say, pretty handily. You beat the 49ers. But this team isn't exactly built to go that far. You have no running game. Your offensive line is still questionable. And your defense, like I just said, is ranked 30th in the league. And not only that, in order to gain in your division, you would need some sort of division win. They're 0-3 in their own division. Look at this. The Panthers are even better in their own division. They are 1-3, and they have 1 win on the season. So I don't know. I really don't know if, regardless if Joe Burrow was out there, that it would really matter if the Bengals make the playoffs or not. Now this sort of solidifies, yeah, they probably won't because Jake Browning is your starting quarterback.
No, they still have 3 games in their division to play against teams that will probably all be in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, so they're probably going to lose those games now.
Think about it. The Colts are even in playoff contention right now. They're 5-5 as well, but they have a better shot with Gardner Minshew at quarterback than you probably do with Jake Browning. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.